And we're live.
We
Welcome
are.
back to the iFilmmaker podcast. My name is Ariel Martinez, and we are here on a very exciting and an episode that I've been waiting to do for a while now. I've been in back and forth with Mr. Ben Consoli of the Go Creative Show. We have him here live on the show. How are you, Ben?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm so jealous of your background. I looked at it.
Everybody says the same thing. I love it, man. I love it. I do. And I was telling you, it's just I'm prepared to go live all the time, which is why I just leave the setup and I'm constantly trying to make it better. But yeah, man, I love that.
To go live for video stuff, because I don't know. I mean, you think that I would know what I'm doing when it comes to like trying to set up a good looking shot, but it's like, I don't know. I have a light set up here. I've got that stupid, like a white flex fill that I have behind me. It didn't look good. It looked chintzy. So now what you guys get to see is my editor, Daniel Latimer, in the background working on a project that we've been shooting for the past 3 days. So this is what it is. This is what I see when I come to my studio every day.
It is what it is. No worries, man. No worries. I think people are more interested anyways in the content that we're going to be talking about anyways, which is what I'm excited about as well. So, so thank you again for making the time and whatnot. We've been trying to make this happen for several months now.
I know.
No, it's been both of us. We've been busy.
Yeah, we have been busy. That's good. I mean, trying to nail anybody down in the production industry is pretty much impossible. I'm sure you're finding that with your show.
Oh yeah. It happens all the time where we make appointments and then things have to get broken down because either I get a job or you get a job or whatnot, and things just don't happen to work out, you know. And
stuff is so last minute too. Like,
yeah,
you just never know. We could book something and then the day before somebody calls, oh, I need this, I need that, and you're like, but I'm glad we're doing it now. So
yes, absolutely, definitely glad about that. So yeah, I appreciate it. So we finally got acquainted at NAB, and it was funny because I think it was at the I forgot which one of the I guess after parties that we went to that one night where I just happened to run into each other. I'm like, Ben, what's up? We're like, you're like, oh my God, he tracked me down.
It was a reminder that we needed to get this. We needed to book this. So
yes. So I'm glad that happened, and I saw you the next day. So real quick, what are your thoughts on NAB?
NAB was really fun. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to walk around too much because I spent all of my time at the Atomos booth emceeing the entire week of panels and events, which was so much fun. I absolutely love that. So I didn't get too much time. I honestly, I spent a little time at Rode. I spent a little time at Ari. It's kind of it. I mean, I knew that I was going to get all the information that I needed from the people that were there doing their panels and interviews. And then also I always have the guys from newsshooter.com come on Go Creative Show and talk about all the gear reviews and all of that. So we just put that episode out 2 days ago. So
nice.
That's basically where I get my news, whether I'm there or not, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, that's a good thing. That is a very good source. You guys can go and check that out over at the Go Creative Show podcast. I've been listening to that podcast for quite some time now, so I do appreciate all the content that you put out there as well for that. We're definitely going to get into the podcasting aspect of your work a little bit later. I wanted to start with you, getting to know you, where you come from, how you got started in the industry, you know, the whole thing there.
Yeah, well, I live in Massachusetts, and I've been here, you know, forever. I was born and raised here. I went to school at Emerson College in Boston, and so I was there. I lived in Boston for 4 years at Emerson, and then after that came back to where I live now. So that's basically where I am. But I've always been doing something kind of artistic in the music field for a whole bunch of time. I was very much motivated towards building a music career for up until probably I was about like 25, 26. So that was my 100% focus. I had a band called Violet 9, and I was the singer in that band and multiple bands before that. And that was what I was doing. There was no question in my mind that I was going to be doing anything other than being a rock star. It didn't happen. But I've always had video as kind of my my backup, which is weird because video really isn't a backup career. That's something that you're like, I want to do video, but then I'm going to have a backup career just in case it doesn't work out. So I've never had a safety net. I've never had a real job. I've always just pulled it together with freelancing and making connections and building up my network. And I did that with music. And then around, 25, 26, when the band started, not being active anymore, I transitioned to video production. And, but it's always been a passion of mine. It's not like I'm just doing it, because, and it wasn't really something I was interested in. I've always loved it. So it was a great second option, and now it's the first option. And I'm so glad that things turned out the way they did, because I absolutely love doing what I'm doing now.
Wow. And at the risk of aging you here, what year was that? How old were you and what year was that?
So I'm 38 right now, just about to be 39. I've been doing this a long time. So what is that? I mean, that's like 2005, 2006 is when I started really focusing on video. I had always done it because I've always made like little home movies and things like that with family. So I always kind of had video going on in the background, but I didn't take it serious until around 2005-ish, 2006.
That's awesome. I think that's a pattern of most people when they start a business, is that they've been doing that for a while. How many times did you think about actually doing it as a business before you actually did it as a business? Did it ever cross your mind?
Well, at the time that I started, there wasn't really a lot of production companies when I started. I mean, there were a few, but you certainly, like YouTube wasn't even really a thing. It was just kind of starting out. So it was just such a different industry then. So in order to get any jobs at all, I had to present myself as a production company, because no one would just hire a camera operator the way that they do now. You wouldn't expect your camera operator to edit and come up with creative and do all those things and run sound and all that. Things were done a little bit more like they are in a what am I saying? Oh, what's the word? In a union. So things were a little bit more unionized, where you kind of expected your camera operator just to run camera. Now you expect one person to do everything. It wasn't like that before. So the only way that I could get hired is if I presented myself as a production company, because presenting myself as just a shooter was not going to cut it. So I have always been running things as a company, but it wasn't really an actual company until a few years later, when I started really hiring other people, and, getting a space like this and doing things more professionally. But that's just the way it was. I couldn't go out there and say, hey, I'm a shooter. The expectation would be, well, I don't need a shooter. I need somebody to actually create a video for me. That's not what a shooter does. It's very different now.
When did you start seeing that shift in the industry where people started demanding that shooters be able to edit and do the whole thing?
I don't know if it's a demand. I think it's just an expectation. I think like nowadays I think there's an expectation where people are like, oh, I'm just going to hire a video guy. I'm just going to hire, somebody to just shoot a little video and edit it in a day or so and get it over to me for social media. There's an expectation now that if someone owns a camera and they are a camera operator, they are therefore able to produce an entire piece. And it's the expectation's it's not unfounded. It's real. People are doing it. I mean, that's what people are doing. So, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So I think once cameras were less expensive, once NLEs were less expensive, and everybody had all these tools at their fingertips, people learned these new skills. And as a result, one person is able to very successfully and very professionally produce a piece from start to finish. So I think there's an expectation of that now.
Not to mention editing software and the works like that, where it's now a lot more accessible to everyone, including a program like DaVinci Resolve, where it's free, which is
crazy.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, what they give you for free is impressive. That's why. Total random aside, but everyone is freaking out about the keyboard that they put out. That like really bulky, 1994 keyboard. I think it's great. I mean, these guys, you don't need it. You don't need the keyboard to use Resolve. So don't buy it if you don't want to. I love that they're trying to put out cool stuff, and they'll be like, you're going to pay a premium because this stuff is for people that need this tool. You don't need it, don't buy it. You have the software for free. That's amazing what they're doing. It really is.
I wouldn't even say it's for people that really want it. I don't think that you could find someone that absolutely needs it unless they convince themselves that they need it.
You could say that about so much gear.
Oh my gosh.
Sure.
Yeah, a case in point right over here.
Looking in your background, you have all sorts of little things.
Oh, you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg there, man. There's a whole closet here of things that I don't even use, which I'm embarrassed about. But man, things like that is really, I got into the industry, I think, well, I started my business in 2013. So I think like Film Right was like what I started watching and whatnot. And that's, and I didn't even want to make narratives, but I was really more interested in the gear and all that stuff. And it really never went away. But just the learning aspect of it was just so like, for me, it was addicting to want to make better and get better image quality and get all that stuff. I think that like technology and the advancements of all this gear and what we've been able to obtain at such a affordable price has been a huge thing for the industry, and no doubt it's definitely changed the industry. But even then, I think that there's a market out there for obviously camera operators only, people that specialize in those kinds of fields. There's a market for audio mixers, field mixers only, people that just do audio, you know, and same thing for lighting and every part of the industry. But those are the much higher end jobs that basically requires like a 20-30 person crew, you know?
Yeah, I think what I'm talking about when I say that there's an expectation, the level of projects that I was looking to do at that time, that anybody would hire me for at that time.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I think doing you know, a small piece for social media. Someone opens a restaurant. They're like, hey, come in, get some shots of food, people hanging around, whatever, turn it into a little thing. I think that there's an expectation that one person can do all of that. And one person can do all of that, which is cool.
Yeah,
that wasn't the case when I was doing it.
Yeah, that was unheard of. Like if you had the aspiration to make a video for your business, you were expected to spend a very pretty penny for that one video.
Oh yeah,
because there's production costs, there's post-production costs. Because I was talking to Alex Ferrari in one of my other episodes, and he was talking about like there used to be editing houses all over the place, over in LA where he lives, and he says now there's maybe 2 editing houses because everyone has an editing suite in their home or in their office, you know. And now it's a more, as we were saying, it's more affordable than ever to become an editor. You know, anybody can pick up the free DaVinci software and go and become an editor and specialize in editing. You know, not saying that they would be automatically good at editing, but they can do it. You know, they have the access to do it. Before that stuff you couldn't buy it. You know, before that stuff was just unobtainable. You could buy it, but it's hundreds and thousands of dollars. So
yeah,
it's awesome. I think it's a great thing that people are able to expand and create jobs like that and whatnot. So I was looking at your work, and by the way, great stuff. I really enjoy it. And I love the fact that you're putting all of your information, all the information on each job that you do right on the website, like director, camera operator, the crew, all that stuff. It's really, I enjoy that. And so that's definitely different from the way that I work. I'm probably more in that beginner stage in the sense that I'm still kind of relatively a one-man band, right? But so for you, how do you go about grabbing, I guess, more jobs like that? Because that can't obviously be cheap, you know, like that takes a nice healthy budget. That takes a nice healthy budget to get a crew together and put together all these projects, you know?
Well, okay, so a couple things. The way that I started to get higher budget projects was that I had done a whole bunch of admissions videos for schools early on in my career. So I had a fairly decent portfolio of admissions videos. Now, this was at the time where admissions videos were like 15 minutes long. They put them out on DVD. They shipped them out to potential students. There was no place to put them online, especially long features like that. So I had done a whole bunch of them, made a whole bunch of these DVD packages that were mailed out to students. And I had like probably 3 or 4 good ones out of the 15 that I did. I had linked up with an ad agency in Boston called Forge Worldwide, and they were looking to expand their academic video portfolio. So I was like, hey, I do a whole bunch of academic videos. You should check them out. We started working together on a couple of schools. So now I'm doing agency work, and I'm air quoting it only because it was work through an agency, but it was not yet broadcast commercials or anything like that. I worked with them very, very closely for a few years. And in that time, built a great relationship. And when an opportunity came up to do a series of web commercials for Dragon Naturally Speaking, which was that software from a while ago where you would have the headset on and a little microphone, and as you talk, it would dictate your voice and type it out. So it was way before Siri, before all those things. It was the only way you could really talk and have your text appear on the screen as you're talking. So I had done a series of web commercials for them. And it was great. It was an agency job. It were commercials. I was super excited. It was my first time doing anything like that. It was awesome. And then all of a sudden they decided that a client, Dragon, was so happy with the project that they decided to buy airtime on the Super Bowl that year. Wow. So they aired the commercials during the Super Bowl, and instantly I had done a Super Bowl ad. So it was just a complete accident almost that had happened. So once that happened, I now had worked with an agency, I had done commercials, and some of them appeared during the Super Bowl. That was enough to get in the door of other agencies. So that's the only real reason that I'm doing agency work now, is because of that step in. Once I started getting bigger budgets, I made sure that, and this is probably not the best business move in the world, but I'm an artist. I'm not a business person. You know what I'm saying? Like this is kind of that's the line I'm always drawing. I had made a very conscious decision to basically not really get paid for a little while and put all of the money towards making the projects the best they could possibly look, because my currency at that time was portfolio. I needed a reel. I needed the best looking stuff I can get. And I did not want to take a couple thousand from me when I knew that if I put that towards a better camera rental, a lens set, things like that, I would end up with a better, more valuable product. Because a better video and a better reel to me at that time was far more worthwhile and helpful than some cash in my pocket. So that was a decision that I had made early on. I did that for a little while. And once I felt like I had a portfolio good enough to really compete with, similarly, sized little production companies in Boston, then I, started restructuring and taking some money for myself, because you have to at some point.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't know if that's the best move. I really don't know. It was just a different time.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So how did you said you were freelancing the whole time. How did you kind of sustain yourself?
Not well. But you got to remember, I was in a band for a very long time and we made nothing, So I was used to really not making any money. It was, I was used to it.
Got it.
Did
you have roommates?
Oh no. I mean, my husband right now, we've been together for 20 years. And, so we had been together, and I mean, he had a real job. He had a full-time job. So insurance is there, money's coming in that way. It's fine. I was certainly not contributing from a financial standpoint for many years at the beginning. But I think he understood, because he was with me all throughout the band situation. He understood that I kind of had to scratch that itch. I needed to do something artistic and interesting, or else I would lose my mind. And this was the way to do it.
So you had a spouse that understood you. You had someone that could still help you out. Got it. So you weren't living under a bridge the whole time.
No.
Gotcha.
No. It was not like that.
Got it.
But I was definitely not contributing to the household financially. That's for sure.
Got it.
But I think it was a good decision, because I ended up with better looking stuff.
I think that was obviously it's a very, very relatively risky move, but it's something that you have to take a lot of different aspects into consideration. Like I've been talking to a friend of mine that he wants to take that jump. He has a full-time job. He has a wife that has a full-time job, right? And he's very hesitant to do it. Very, very hesitant to do it. And his wife has even told him, do it already. Like, she makes enough money to support it. His wife is literally trying to push him, but he's just won't do it. And I'm like, man, you're never, I don't know. If you start having kids, you're not going to get this opportunity. I don't think you will. I really don't think. If you're not going to do it now, you're not going to do it then, you know? So, yeah, you have to, there's a lot of different aspects to kind of your life, and obviously your income, your livelihood, and all that stuff that you have to consider before making a move like that. So yeah, you obviously had different circumstances and whatnot. So I want to rewind back to where you had your first Super Bowl commercial.
Yes.
You had mentioned that you were doing a lot of admission videos for colleges.
Yeah.
Were you doing those for free, or were you getting paid?
So for the admission videos, I mean, it wasn't for free. No.
Okay.
But they were really inexpensive. And I and I sort of took the same model as I did later on, where it's like, I wanted to make sure I had a crew that was capable and able to do this stuff. I did a lot by myself. Many, many years spent by myself, many years spent PAing and just assisting on other shoots. So yes, I was being paid. Nothing was real. I didn't really do a lot of free work. I did a lot of paid work, but just didn't really give myself much of that, much of that budget.
Got it. That's interesting. And when you started your production company, how did you go about originally, like your first video, your first paid video, right? Like, how did you start building a portfolio?
Well, so at the time, one of the first projects I did, let me remember. Well, so my producer and writer that I use all the time now, her name is Maria Della Croce. She used to work at Comcast Spotlight, and she had done so many, like Comcast Spotlight was cranking out small local commercials. And she started hiring me as a PA. So I was working doing these very small local commercials. And what happened is they sort of changed the way that they were doing their hiring, and they started doing more freelance hiring. And there was a status called a preferred vendor. And when you were a preferred vendor, Comcast would send clients directly to you, and then you would do the commercial and give it back to Comcast so that they can sell the airtime. So they were doing less in-house and more as freelancers. This is making sense and is interesting. Once I became a preferred vendor, I started to move up from PAing. So I went from PA, and then I was shooting, then I was editing, and then eventually I kind of took over the whole project. So I had a couple of little commercials that were, cute little commercials. They were fun, whatever. Some of them looked really nice. I started transitioning that I was going to schools, and I went to my old grammar school, and I was like, hey, I want to do an admissions video for you, because I kind of knew that schools were doing admissions videos, and I thought this was a good market. So I went in, I did theirs for free to have one. Then after that, I went to other schools. It's crazy. I was just walking into schools. I need to talk to your admissions person, just talking to people and really aggressively selling myself. There's just really no other way to do it. That's how I did it. There was no way to do it through social media or online resources at that time. And if there were, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was just knocking down doors.
That's awesome. And all right, so you got your company up and running, you got clients going on. Let's fast forward to kind of more current time here. Yeah. I see that you make a variety of different kinds of works. Is there something that you would say you're very strong in? What would be your best kind of work that you do today?
Okay, I think what I do best, and I think with my collaboration with Maria and the rest of the team here, what we do best is I think that we help brands identify what they want to say and then tell that story in kind of a unique and a more human way. I think a lot of times, especially, there's a lot of technology here in Boston. There's education, there's technology, there's biotech. There's a lot of that stuff, medical, that kind of stuff around here. And a lot of my clients are relatively dry with their concepts, and what they do is relatively dry. What I think we do is we bring humanity to those stories. We really try to nail down what is it that you're trying to say, who are you trying to say it to, and craft a story first, and then build a production around that. So I think we've been able to kind of tell difficult stories in a more human way so that they can be relatable. So I feel like that is really our niche. Now we do that across a whole different type of, a whole different, what's the word? I don't know.
Genre category.
So, exactly. So a whole bunch of different genres we're doing this. We're doing it for academics and medical and technology and all this other stuff. But I think the common thread is that we're helping them craft an interesting story with a human element to it, so that they can, talk to the right people and have some sort of an impact. That I think is what we do best. So I wouldn't say that we have a particular genre, because I don't think we do. We work with a whole bunch of different clients. But when it comes to telling human stories or bringing humanity to a story that isn't very human, that seems to work best for us.
Wow, I love that you have a whole concept behind your strategy in regards to the storytelling aspect of every project. That's really, really good to have. How did you this might be a hard question, but how did you come to that realization that these stories need humanity? Like, I wouldn't even know how to kind of brainstorm something like that into existence in regards to like telling the message that my client's trying to tell.
We asked our clients, we're like, what do you think we're good at?
Oh, okay.
Over the time, we've developed.
So really, they told you, okay.
Yeah, we've worked with a lot of different agencies and individual marketing directors and built great relationships. So we're like, hey, honestly, it was all part of this plan to redo our website, which we're right in the middle of. And we wanted to make sure that the language was correct and that we were saying the right things. So we just started asking people, like, what do you think we do best at? And we heard so many times them saying, oh, first of all, you're really great at doing interviews because you get people to feel comfortable on camera. That's one. Okay. Two, they said that you really helped me craft the story. Like I didn't know what I wanted to say, and you guys helped me say it. That happened quite a bit. So we're like, maybe this is kind of what we do and who we are. And then you look back at the catalog and you're like, yeah, that is what we were doing. We were kind of not making something more interesting, but bringing out the humanity in it so it's relatable.
Wow, that's awesome. That's fantastic. That's a great concept to I guess, go by. The interview, bringing the best out of people, making them feel comfortable in an interview, crafting that story to kind of appeal to the viewer. That's some great topics there. And I'm sure you can go into a whole slew of information on how to kind of narrow that in there, but we're not going to get into that for the sake of this episode. Let's go into gear. So again, with the helpful information that you actually, at least for me, that you actually put on every video that you make, I noticed that you use a variety of different video equipment. Yeah. How do you decide what it is that you need, or is it you that decides, for example, the camera that you use for each project?
So my director of photography that I use all the time is Chris Loughran. He owns an FS7, but he's very well versed in a whole bunch of different cameras as well. So when there's something where we have the budget to rent cameras, we're going to rent something like an Alexa. It's just going to happen. Sometimes you don't have those budgets and you use what you own. So the FS7 is the Sony Fs7. It's a great all-around camera. They have a Mach II now. It's even better. It's a great all-around camera. It does have that Sony look. So some people like the Canon look, some people like the Sony look. I can understand both sides of it. But I am just a big fan of Sony regardless. He bought into the FS7 and the A7S II. So I got an A7S II. So we have, matching cameras for when we need to do multicam stuff. I have an FS5. So we're very much a Sony house right now. However, when broadcast commercials come up, we generally will elevate that to getting an Alexa Mini or an Amira or something like that.
Very nice. Very nice. And obviously, if it fits the budget and whatnot, but either way, you can always make it happen regardless. When you're given a budget, how do you break that down? Like, what are your levels of priority when you're given a budget? Like, when do you finally decide, yeah, we're not going to have a budget for the camera, so we'll use whatever we have?
Okay. So how do I prioritize the budget, you're saying?
Yes.
Right. I'd say the first thing is, if it's talent, I want to make sure they're cast properly. Right. If we're going to be having talent, I don't want to just be finding people myself or using, Model Mayhem or something like that. It's a good resource, but I like to do a proper casting session. It's expensive. It is what it is. So I make sure that there's enough money there for to make sure that the talent is well paid so that they are interested in the job, and also that the casting's done properly. And I use Boston Casting quite a bit in Boston. I've used Paradise Casting in Boston. There's another company called Slate in Boston. So there's a lot of great casting options in Boston.
Okay.
We'll book in New York sometimes too, if we just, feel like we need to see some different people. So that I make sure is handled first. After that, locations. I want to make sure we have a good location, because if the place is terrible, then there's nothing to shoot. You need something in front of the camera in order for anything behind the camera to be valuable. So I want to make sure that we've got great locations, great talent. There's that. Now, whatever's left over, which sometimes isn't a lot, that's what I sort of prioritize after that. You got to have a great DP. I don't have to worry about it. Chris Loughran's my go-to. He's fantastic.
Good.
So we've got that. I always want to have a gaffer on set. I want to make sure audio is recorded well. You got to have a PA, somebody like that. You have to have good food. Oh my God. If you don't have good food,
Yes.
everybody gets pissed.
Oh man.
So makeup, it's just so important. I'm always trying to focus on, as much as I love the gear and as much as I want to make sure that we have great equipment and a great crew behind the scenes, what is in front of the camera is the important part. And I got to put the funds towards that first.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. And so I just heard like 5 or 6 things there that you said was so important. I mean, everything obviously is important.
Yeah.
Would you say that the way you mentioned everything is that, I would assume the food would probably be higher in that priority list. If you could kind of number those. I know you started off with talent
and locations. If there are talented locations, they may not be.
Okay.
So you might do a corporate thing and you just go to their office, whatever. So that's something that, depends on if it even needs it.
Sure.
So the next thing is camera. Got to have a great camera. You got to have a great operator. That's that. I would say, so camera, lighting, probably makeup after that, because I want to make sure whoever is in front of the camera, whether they're cast or provided, look the best that they can.
Camera, lighting, makeup.
I'd say camera, lighting, makeup. We got to have food no matter what.
Food.
But whether we're going to elevate it or not is sort of the decision. Is it going to be just a couple, some snacks and water bottles, or is it going to be like a proper lunch? You got to,
yeah.
And then after that, it starts getting into like, art department, if you need it. Then it starts turning into things that you may need, you may not.
Got it.
Always want to have a PA. And strangely enough, the thing that's kind of becoming even more and more important is somebody behind the scenes taking photos and videos for social media. It's becoming like a major thing now. Actually,
we're talking about that
right now. I'm getting texts right now from Chris. I'm wondering, is he watching or is he doing something else? No, he's doing something else. Sending me things to look at. So now we can talk shit about him, I guess. Oh, am I not? I may not. All right. I don't know if I'm.
Go ahead.
All right, good. Regardless, sorry, I'm distracted. But yeah, that's super important, is to have that stuff behind the scenes. Just somebody doing that is becoming a line item that I'm like, really want to start having somebody all the time on these sets.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
Oh, from the start. Yeah. I also consider when I started, like I started watching a lot of behind the scenes on YouTube. So naturally I love that stuff. I post a lot about that, but yeah, I mean, it's the behind the scenes is something that I'm also trying to get more and more fluent on. But no, that's great to know, even for me, because as I said before, I usually work as a one-man band. Every now and then, I would say maybe 2 to 3 times a year, I'll have a nice healthy budget to hire a nice crew. And usually the first thing I start off with is because I don't know too much and I don't have too many contacts, I'll hire a producer. That's like usually the first thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The first thing that I go for. And basically they're in charge of finding the talent, finding the location, finding all that, making, obviously with, I have to approve of all that stuff, but, giving me the options, and then I can start choosing from there. Basically makes my job much, much easier. So that's the first thing I go for. And then, I don't know, like, again, I'm not too vested in that. I usually, I use my camera equipment, and the grip, obviously. Yeah, the grip and the lighting truck. I'll hire them and bring them on board.
Yeah.
But again, it's always different. I only do that 2, maybe 3 times a year. Everything else is mostly either camera operating work and or lighting, like all around one-man band type deal stuff. So and more often than not, I'm always with a production assistant. So they just come with me, help me take all my gear and whatnot. So it's a lot of fun. I definitely can't complain. But yeah, it's nice to handle a nice crew like that. So it's always cool to see your behind the scenes too, which I know people have been posting. You've been posting that and stuff like that. So
I've been really trying to be more out there with Instagram stories and stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of a pain. I mean, it's fun to do, but it's like to be thinking about that the whole time that you're shooting other things. It is a bit of a distraction from what you should be focusing on sometimes.
Yes.
But I've been trying to do a little bit more, but I did it the past 3 days. Who knows? I'm going to try to do it because we do have some interesting stuff to see behind the scenes. So I would want to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's always super, super interesting to see other people's setups, behind the scenes stuff and whatnot. That's what I do. I usually post what I like to see. So yeah, maybe hiring somebody or even getting somebody that you can give your phone to and just do the behind the scenes for you. That's already there. So maybe the makeup when she's not putting.
If she's listening to this, she's probably cringing right now saying, I am needed all the time. You can't just dump stuff on me.
That's good. No, yeah, that's true though. No, but I mean, I love behind the scenes stuff. So, yeah, that's awesome to know. I want to get into the whole, the podcast, the Go Creative Show podcast, because it was very interesting. Before I started my podcast, I went around to start looking for other podcasts that were out there. I want to see how they're doing it and whatnot. And surely enough, yours came up, the Go Creative Show. Very, very interesting. And I know that there's a bunch of different ways to do podcasting and whatnot. And I love your method. How do you go about getting all of these Hollywood guests that really, you're not in the Hollywood scene in the work that you're doing. So how do you come across all these people?
All right. So I'm right now searching because I want to make sure I have his name right. But first of all, the very first, there it is. Got it. So the very first, I was a guest on someone else's show. The show used to be called the Need Creative Podcast, and it was hosted by Paul Antico. And I was a guest on the show. And he brought me on occasionally here and there. I started doing a little bit more. And then eventually he's like, he just didn't have time for the show anymore. But I loved it so much that I continued on as Need Creative, but it changed a lot. So it just made sense to change the name, change the branding, change it all. So Go Creative Show, yes, is mine, but it was born of a completely different podcast. So that's the first thing. But the very first, when we got the first big name guest that I got was Michael Slovis, and he was the director of photography for Breaking Bad. And it was the perfect timing. It was right during it was either their second to last or last season. Everybody was talking about that show. I got him on the show. That really changed the game because once I had him on the show, it made the podcast more credible. And I looked over there because I have my window open. I'm wondering, are you hearing the noise outside, or is it
I don't
fine?
hear.
Okay,
I don't hear much.
Well, good. I'd rather, because if the window's not open, I'll be melting. The air in this building is not on yet, and it's 1,000 degrees in here.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Yes. See, these are the things that we have to deal with in the East Coast. We don't get nice weather all the time like you. Anyway.
No, we get inconsistent weather, so we never know what to expect here in Miami.
That's true. So that was it. So I got Michael Slovis on the show, and then I'm like, okay, this is where I want the show to go. I want to bring on high-level, Hollywood-level DPs to talk about their work. Now, what I found is that a lot of them have similar stories. So I started inserting things that were a little bit different, tips and tricks episodes, like how to, business building tools. Sure. Like we had somebody on talking about insurance for production companies. We had somebody talking about meditation and staying calm and balanced in the production industry, because it's kind of a hectic, all-consuming industry. We talked about audio production. We brought somebody on that was the lighting director for Maroon 5 came on the show. So like we started bringing in a few different things to mix it up, but definitely our bread and butter is director of photography's production designers from big movies and big TV shows. And we still do that now.
Every it seems like every episode you have the next Hollywood DP coming on the show, which is phenomenal. And it's great insight
so lucky.
too.
We are just, I don't even know. I mean, people say yes. That's all it is. I'm able to say, hey, I'm from Go Creative Show. A lot of people know the show already because
that's awesome.
You know,
isn't that the best feeling when you're trying to get somebody on and they've heard your show before? Yes. That's awesome.
When that first started happening, I was like, this is great.
That's awesome.
And I think what it is a lot of these DPs are repped by, they'll be repped by a company that has a whole roster of director of photographies. So you do one, you meet their representative, they start connecting you to others. It's just the way it is.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal. And how long typically are your episodes?
A Go Creative Show episode is about an hour. You know, we interview people for 50 minutes or so, and the rest of the time is just a little bit of blabbing from me at the beginning and some ad reads and stuff like that. But the show's about an hour.
Very cool. Very interesting. And are you, I mean, you're interested in DP work and all that stuff, or you're genuine. It seems like you're genuinely interested in knowing the DPs in Hollywood and whatnot, and that workflow and what they do. But also, I mean, does that help you with your work, do you think? Or
yeah, I mean, you learn so much from these guys, you know? I mean, they come on and they talk about their experiences, the gear that they're using, the way that they set up their crews, and it can't help but kind of trickle into your mind and come up when you're planning your own shoots. You know, the super high level DPs, stuff that I'm definitely likely not going to do in my own career. That's interesting to hear because, you know, it's just big level stuff, but it's also cool to hear from, you know, commercial directors and people that have more attainable careers, I guess. Something where I could potentially see myself doing it. For my own benefit, but Go Creative Show has a really good wide range audience that are all technically minded, interested in cinematography, and they want to hear from everybody from small production companies all the way up to the big people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's we have a live question here from one of our viewers. They're asking, could you ask Bennett why he still hasn't updated his Sony A7S II to the A7 III, and if he thinks the newer camera is more easily matchable with Sony's more expensive camcorders?
So I know I've been talking about A7S II for a long time. I brought it up today. Maybe I'm a bit obsessed. I think there's a problem here.
You're waiting. Are you waiting for the A7S III?
I am. I'm always waiting. I'm like, that's the camera I'm going to upgrade to.
Yes.
I don't know what, I mean, honestly, right now, I'm just so used to it. It looks good. It works for small budget client stuff.
Sure.
Just take it. I'm just used to it. I don't feel the big desire right now to get an upgrade to that because when I'm doing multicam with Chris, he has an A7S II as well. I've got the Sony Fs7. I don't know. I don't really buy a lot of stuff for myself because I don't shoot that much.
Got it.
So I'm not worried too much about building up my own, you know, gear set.
Yeah.
Although we are talking quite a bit about investing in either in a Mira or a Mini, which is a completely different category of camera.
Yeah.
A much bigger investment, a much bigger decision. But that is something that we're thinking about as a company.
But there's a reason for that.
Yeah, having a higher level camera package. But I don't know. I just like that camera. It's cute. It's small. I'm used to it. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone use the word cute to describe a camera. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Not a good answer. I know. Whoever asked that, you are welcome to say that I'm a complete fool. I'm fine.
No, actually, I agree. I think I don't know what Sony is thinking. I don't know why they've waited so long. I don't know why they waited so long for the A7S III.
I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to make it 8K? Or, I mean, what are they going to do?
When I bought, I was expecting them to release it last year's NAB.
Yeah.
But you know, when I saw that they didn't, I went ahead and just purchased the GH5, and it's been a phenomenal camera. And I think that they lost a lot of customers to Panasonic, no doubt.
My impression is that I think they thought that by putting out the A7R, they're going to be like, fine, all the people that want to upgrade from the A7S, they can get that. You're still in the Sony ecosystem. We're good to go. But I don't think that they understood that the brand of A7S was more important than necessarily having another camera with a different name. People want an A7S III, they do. And if you don't give them that, they're going to go elsewhere. I don't think the natural decision is, if I can't get an S3, I'm going to go for an R. I just don't know if that's necessarily
They're
it.
completely different types of cameras.
Yeah.
One is mainly geared for stills, and the other one is mainly for video, but it's a low light beast, which is why it's so attractive to a lot of people.
And Sony puts out 8,000 cameras a year.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Maybe they're holding off for something amazing. Who knows? I still have a place in my heart for an A7S III. If it ever comes to be, it better be good. It has to be real good.
I've had my theories as to, I think, I don't know if my theories have already been proven false or whatever for the lack of not releasing anything. My original theory from last year's NAB was that with the release of the GH5, it literally scared them to kind of hold off a little longer just to make it a little bit better.
Could be.
Because now you have 10-bit recording at 4K in the SLR camera, which is phenomenal. And then you have 4K 60p, you know, and I personally think that I thought it intimidated Sony, but the fact that they haven't released anything yet, it's just I basically stopped thinking about it. Best thing I could do. Kind of probably as good as deleting your social media. You feel good about it.
Well, I think
one of those things.
Panasonic kind of took a break before they released the EVA1. They just sort of they went on hold for a little bit. They weren't releasing cameras like crazy. That EVA1 came out. It was it is a fantastic camera. Yeah. I think maybe they just needed a breather on the A7S III. I don't know. Or who knows? There could be some behind the scenes stuff. Somebody gets fired, whatever. I mean, these companies are just made of people. So people are annoying. And maybe some person did something and put the brakes on things. Who knows?
That's insane. I see that they're still pushing their alpha line, the A6400 now is where they're at.
Yeah.
I was just talking with Caleb in a previous episode, Caleb Pike, and we were saying like these companies that are putting out, I don't know how effective it is to put out products so close in features to the one before and the one after. So now you have the A6300, which is a phenomenal camera. I still have that camera. Then after that came the A6500, which same video quality, if I'm not mistaken, just a few different features. Now you have internal image stabilization and all that stuff. And then the A6400, which is the same thing, same image quality. Now you have the flip out screen. So it's kind of almost stepping on each other's toes. Why? I think that, I don't know, they're with this small difference in feature, I think you're going to have a surplus in products because they're so very relatively the same kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. It's a tough road. Things are a little bit different now. They need to have a camera they need to have an option for vloggers. They need to have an option for professional work. They need to have an option for all these things. And I guess maybe the decision is, do we have one camera that does it all, or do we break it up for the different industries? Who knows?
That's crazy. I always find it interesting to go about that. We have a comment from Aaron Griffin saying that he's still shooting on the Fs700.
Love it.
Remember that camera?
Oh, I had that camera.
Oh yeah. He had it with he's using it with the Atomos recorder. That ProRes RAW feature that they just came out with.
Yeah.
Well, they came out with last year, actually upped the value in cameras like the Fs700.
Yep.
Because now you have ProRes RAW coming out of a camera like that, you know? And it's phenomenal. Have you played with the ProRes RAW files before?
No, but I've seen and heard a lot about it because at the Atomos booth this year, it was, I mean, not all about ProRes RAW, but we had a lot of panels about ProRes RAW. Yeah. And the images look amazing. And it does breathe new life into your cameras. And anytime a technology can do that, I love it. Whenever you don't have to go out and buy something new, I mean, yeah, you have to get, you know, upgrades and stuff in order to access it. Sure. Whenever you don't have to buy a whole new thing, I am down for that. I love that. I'm very much a big advocate for using what you have, learning about it as much as you can, really understanding it and getting the best you can out of it.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I just love gear, which is you know, the big arsenal behind me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that just creating is great, phenomenal. I just, you know, I'm honestly, I'm just a sucker for gear. I really am. I'm trying to hone in on that. I'm trying to bring that to kind of minimize that a little bit. It's really putting dents in my bank account. So it's
Honestly, I
hurting
think
every time.
the reason I'm not doing more gear review stuff is because I don't really buy that much of it. I don't have that much of it. For
Mhm.
me, what makes me excited is what's the least amount of stuff that I can
Mhm.
take on a shoot and get the job done. I love it. When I can
Mm.
pack it all into one thing, throw it in an airplane and go somewhere and shoot, it's the best. And
Yes.
I like to keep it simple for my own
Yeah.
stuff. But again,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not being hired as a shooter. When I'm doing
Yeah.
big production and hiring stuff, I
Yeah.
want a lot of stuff on set. You got to have it.
Yeah, no, for me, no, more than anything, I try to buy gear that makes my job easier, right? So, but it's hard for me to, and I have to do a whole nother episode on this. It's hard for me to draw that line of what I need and what I want, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, now I'm looking at a better monitor because my monitor is like 600 nits and in broad daylight,
Yeah.
can't see crap. So now I'm trying to look at the next best monitor that I can get that's nice and bright. I don't want to be carrying a hood around. So what's going to make my job easier? What's going to get out of my way so that I can fulfill my duties? And as a camera operator, oftentimes they're asking me to do kind of these maneuvers where I'm perfectly fine doing it, but sometimes my gear might kind of limit me on that stuff, you know? So I wish that they would come out with some sort of monitor mount that I can move without untwisting anything. You know, I'm sure that there's probably something close to that out there, but I haven't found it, you know? So things like that would be valuable for me. Uh, yeah. So something better, obviously, than can people find your stuff? For first of all, I know you keep your business, is two different websites. There's your business
Yeah.
website and then the podcast website. Where can people find that?
So my production company is called BC Media Productions. BC, like my name, mediaproductions.com. So you can check out all the work that I've been doing there. And then, yeah, that's really the best place for that. I have benconsoli.com. That's kind of the aggregate of everything, but the production
Nice.
company site is fine. And then for the podcast, it's gocreativeshow.com. And you can see all the episodes there and subscribe and all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, those are the best two places.
That's awesome. And a big tip to people that are listening, if you go over to bcmediaproductions.com, you'll see all the information regarding the shoots and whatnot on every single one of the videos, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed watching. I mean, seeing like the list of people that were involved and the gear that was used, the camera that it was shot in, the even the editing software that you edited it and colored it in. I thought
Final
that
Cut
was
10.
Final Cut.
That's my studio. I'm sorry that I have been with them since day one. I'm obsessed with it. Now I got my two things out, the Sony A7S II and Final Cut 10. Now all is good in the world.
That's been a burden for you.
It's the best. I don't know. People are insane. But yeah, that's anything that's edited in this studio is Final Cut 10.
Wow. And I know I started in Final Cut 10, actually. I started, it's very user-friendly, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier to use it in terms of power on a Mac, from what I understand. I went over to Premiere and I loved the extra features that it had added. But yeah, Final Cut 10 is definitely easier to use. And I think I opened it when ProRes RAW came out and I was just playing around with it. And I noticed the big difference now that they've made a lot of improvements from when I started.
Oh yeah.
So it's really, really cool. That's awesome. And yeah, and in social media, I know it's at Ben Consoli.
Ben Consoli everywhere. Yeah, Ben Consoli, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And I just started a Go Creative Show Instagram based on some advice. We'll see how it goes. So there's like no followers there. It's only been up for a week. But
nice. I'll send people over there.
Yes, please do. And they're going to say, okay, why am I following this? There's hardly any posts and there's nothing here. But I promise you over time, it will be built. But too many things, too many social media things. I can't take it.
Yeah, social media is we were talking about this at NAB. Social media is the big thing. It's a huge thing.
My God. All the big stars at NAB, I'm like, I don't know who these people are. They're walking around, they're talking into a phone. There's a whole bunch of people behind them. I'm like, I don't know. I guess they're, and then I'll look and I'll be like, oh my God, 5 million followers, all this stuff. I'm like, how do I not know who these people are? I don't know. I'm an old man.
I think I was throwing out some names at you, and it was like,
people.
Matt Johnson. You don't know Matt Johnson?
I know, and I don't know what to tell you. I'm a 38-year-old gentleman, people. I just don't know what I'm talking about. I'm learning. I mean, every time I go into the stupid apps, I'm like, I feel like I'm my parents learning how to use a remote.
I probably, you know, the only one I would say that I'm really trying to kind of grind through it and use it more is Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter is the one that, like, there are no images. It's just text.
I know.
Right. And not to say, I mean, yeah, I'm not a fan of reading. Most of the books that I've read are all audiobooks. I'm a visual learner.
Yeah.
It's how I operate, honestly. And to sit down and read a book, it's just, no. I listen to my books on my commutes and all that, same way I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, so man,
I'm with you on that. So I need help. So
tell me,
go to the Instagrams. I am putting a big effort into bringing behind the scenes to my Instagram followers. So
okay,
you'll go there. I want people to go and watch it and see if it's valuable stuff. If you like what I'm doing, my Ben Consoli Instagram is all behind the scenes photos. That's all it is. There's no food, there's no animals, no nonsense. It's behind the scenes only. And I'm keeping it that way because I just want to keep that dedicated to production and the work that I'm doing as a director. So let me know. People follow me. Let me know what you think. Do you like this stuff? What should I change? What do you think? Because I'm very open to suggestions. This is a wheelhouse that is not yet mine. And I'm trying to learn more about what is valuable to the people that are paying attention out there. So we really value your thoughts.
Yeah, no, and I'm actually on there right now. I'm at Ben Consoli. Personally, I'm loving it.
Good.
I'm loving it so far. I mean, you got it going on. Every time I see it behind the scenes, what always interests me, and I think a lot of people, is the gear that's used and how kind of the set's being lit up and whatnot.
Yeah.
What I would, my 2 cents would be to put, if you can, to put like a carousel of pictures. You know how you can add multiple pictures in one post?
Yeah.
Add more close-ups on the gear, wide shots of the sets, maybe how your talent's being lit up, things like that. People love to see that because I learned from that. Again, I'm a visual learner, so I can see that what the effect of that lighting is. Now I can think in my head, maybe on a future set, I can remember that attractive lighting setup that I like. I can probably use that technique. People can learn from images.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Good note.
And I think if somebody, hashtags, use hashtags.
Yes.
Huge for getting more people that don't already follow you to follow you. Use hashtags.
I have to do more of these things.
Ben, it was so awesome to have you on the show. I'm so happy we're finally able to make this happen. For sure, we got to bring you back on and see what the status is on your social media and all that stuff, and then just to kind of follow up.
Yeah, we've got to follow up now. We've laid the groundwork. We have to follow up. Oh, by the way, your show's great. I like it. I've heard a couple. I heard the NAB roundup stuff.
Okay.
I heard the last one about finding good clients or whatever it was. I like your kind of stream of consciousness vibe. Like, it was very soothing to listen to in my commute the other day. I like it. I like what you're doing. I think it's cool. You've been getting good response?
Yeah, people are loving it, and I appreciate your feedback. I love that. I know I get text messages from my friends that they listen to it as well. And I think that I'm going more in a direction where, and my whole show is about really me just being transparent. I want people to know how I work, and there's a lot of things that people, even some people might be uncomfortable sharing with other people. But I try to be transparent, and I want to gear. I actually did my own personal study. A lot of people are scared of losing work. They're scared that if they kind of put their secrets out there that they're not going to have any work. And I did a study with a friend of mine, and we were doing our research. We found that the video industry is rising because there's a lot more businesses coming, and there's a lot more work of all these businesses that are inquiring about video work, and so basically, long story short, there's a high demand for video work, and there's not enough people to fulfill that. So I don't think people should be scared of that anyways. So I want to kind of help people grow their businesses. I want people to learn this stuff and whatnot. So that's why I ask you, like, how you started your business. What is your route? Everyone has a different story, for sure. There's a lot of different ways to do it. For you, it was really foregoing your own payment, so for the sake of creating better work, and that's a method. That's a method to do. So I think that that's very interesting, and I appreciate that you shared that with us, because I think that that's important, that people don't know. People might think, when do I get paid? So it was great information. I do appreciate that. So yeah, and that's kind of where I like to gear my my show. I like to help people. I like to help people in doing the kind of work that I do. So I just share my experiences, honestly. It's really what I do.
That's great. I like it. Keep it up.
Appreciate that, Ben. Awesome to have you here on the iFilmmaker podcast. Make sure you guys go check out BCA Media Productions.
BC Media.
I'm sorry, BCA. Okay. BCA is my friend's company. It's not even. It's a
friend. I'm on the show. Damn it!
It's a technology company. It doesn't even do video. It's so funny. It's bcmediaproductions.com. GoCreativeShow.com.
I've screwed up plugs before, and it's
my gosh,
the best.
That's why I usually don't say them. I just have you guys say them.
I know. That's why. That's the trick. Oh, where can people find you? That's what you do, so you don't have to screw it up.
I don't mess it up. So, thanks a lot, Ben. I appreciate you coming on the show.
GoCreativeShow.com. That's all you need to know.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
For sure.